Do you have some round paper punches? If yes, you can create flowers such as these. Do you have a square punch as well? Then you can create a flower like this one. A regular corner punch with the square one, you can get this type of flower. If you have some sort of decorative corner punch, you can make flowers such as these. So many possibilities and so much fun. So let's make some flowers together. Hello everyone, it's Dragana at Saacibo. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've done a flower making tutorial and I'm super excited about this one. The reason I love these flowers so much is because they are really flat, so they don't create much bulk and yet they look layered and rich. I've been playing just with paper. You can certainly do this with fabric. As I said at the beginning, you will need some punches. Even if you have just one round punch, that one was created with a 1-inch punch. This one is probably the most common one that most people have. I think it's just gorgeous. If you don't have any punches, it doesn't mean you can't do this. You can just make yourself some templates and cut by hand with scissors. That is totally fine. But if you have punches, you might as well use them because it is a lot quicker. We'll make one without a punch just so that you see that is possible too. Once you complete them, you can also play around with different finishes, like for example in this one and that one. I've just added some glitter glue on top. Over here I've added hole reinforcers for tags and also some glitter glue. You can also add buttons, whatever you have and whatever you think is good. You can add lace. You can add lace flowers on top. If you have a flower punch, such as this one, you can add that as the final touch. Now let's have a look at the papers that you need for this project. After making several of them, I realized that it works best if I have a thinner paper, such as copy paper, 80 GSM paper, because there is a bit of folding involved. And if you use really heavy cardstock or heavy scrapbooking paper, that might be a bit more difficult. You might have to score the lines and that would take probably a bit more time. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it would be more difficult. So for me, the easiest was to use thinner paper. And I have a selection of different types of papers that I have in my stash that I used for these flowers or that I wanted to use. Probably most of us will have some sort of dyed papers. Okay, I have a few here that I've dyed. That one was dyed with egg dye, pomegranate. I think this was coffee. That was pink paper then dyed with coffee, so it turned more orangey. That was dyed with leftover ink from the printer and so on. There is a playlist on my channel with all the tutorials on how to dye papers, so I will link it down below. Let's have a look at the example of these in real life. I've used that paper to create this flower. Isn't it gorgeous? I had this music score stamped on that part, so I used it to create this one. I think it turned just lovely. There was something stamped with red ink there. I cut it out and I used it to create this flower. As you can see, you need 1/3 of the paper to create one flower of that size. To have the best effect, you need double-sided paper. When I say double-sided, in this case it's dyed paper, but I stamped on one side. So I have one side that is plain and one that has some sort of pattern. I find that that works the best. It doesn't mean you can't use one colored paper. When you use paper that has a different front and back, you get better contrast and the flower petals seem to stand out better, like in this case. So this was black paper that was jelly printed on one side. It can also be painted with a brush, doesn't have to be a jelly print. And the back could have been in totally different color. We've done jelly printing on colored paper too. There is a tutorial on that as well. You can also use book pages. And with book pages, if you just use them as they are and you fold them, it might be a little bit too much of the same, if you know what I mean. So what I like to do is use book pages that are painted on one side, either with acrylic paint, watercolors, jelly print, and so on. So that way I get a lot of contrast. For example, here on this one, you see when you fold it, You can see the text here and the print there. That's done with that paper. That's what's left. That part of the book page had no text, so I've ended up with that look. If I was to use that part, I would have text showing here. You can also use, for example, old sewing patterns that you painted on one side. That's the flower I made with this paper. I think it's just gorgeous. Really great contrast between that and that. Wrapping papers. I never throw away these. They're great for this because they are thin. This one is white on the inside. I could leave it white or just use a light ink on the other side. This one is printed on one side and plain on that one. That would work beautifully. I haven't done any with wrapping paper. Perhaps we can do one today. I will just put it here on this side. Now, music score. Okay. I have some music score that I painted. Okay, on one side. So that would work. That would work. And this one was done with marbling technique. That would also work. Okay. Now here I have some marbled papers. Okay. They would work nice too, especially if they're done on book pages or music score, as you've seen in the other example. Now maps, old road maps. I had a few that I painted on one side. I've created this little flower. Now this paper was printed on one side. I've used digital version of my marbled papers, and then I dyed the other side with, I think it was coffee. So some of the pattern went through, and these work really great. I've done several. There's that one made with that paper. I've made this one with that paper, and I made that one with that paper. Now this one is dyed paper. I think it was a blueberry dye paper. It went gray, so I just cleaned my brayer when I was jelly printing, and then I just spread some glitter glue on top. That would work too. You see, there's quite a bit of contrast between that shiny painted side and just the gray paper. These here are book pages that I decoupaged napkins on. Now these ones I really love. I made one with faux botanical papers with dry petals and leaves, napkins and deli paper. Love that one. So that's also an option. Now textured napkin paper. Remember when we've done that? That's the one I created with this paper. Love that. And of course, if you don't have any of these papers, but you have a printer, you can print any sort of digital paper on both sides. Like I've done here, I printed that and then I put it back in and I printed that on the back. The same here, that's on one side, that's on the other. Okay, and I've got those 3 examples. That was so much fun. When you choose papers, choose the ones that will go well with the other side. Now we come to the freebie. And the freebie for this week is a sample page from 15 different digital kits that I have in my shop. And I've selected the ones that I think would work well with this project. Okay, created one using that. Printed the green one on the back. Let's take a look at the freebies. Okay, this one is missing a part because I made that flower. It's that side and that's that side. Then one of the lacy cards and a lace jelly prints. All these images, once you download them, they will have the name of the digital kit in their title. So if you're interested to see what other images are in that digital kit, you can just check the name of the JPEG and it will be there. Okay, this is the plaid paper, a marbled one. Vintage lace, more vintage lace. I really love this blue one, and that's not in this lot. That's also a freebie, but it's part of a different kit, Nature's Slumber kit. It's one of the eco dyed papers, and that's, I think, part of the Nature's Slumber kit. That's also free on my website. And that's an old freebie with grape dyed papers. Really old, from maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But there's quite a few dyed papers in that lot that you can use for this. And that was also free as part of that video when we were printing on fabric. So some of these you'll have to look through to find them, but the 15 new ones are going to be in the same group. To help us make these flowers, I created this flower template for cutting and drawing. I have made these intuitively. I didn't really measure, I didn't really try to make them exact, apart from the last one, which is that one. Depending on how I fold the flowers, sometimes I would not make the perfect circle, and then I would have trouble arranging and gluing. So I thought, if I'm having trouble, maybe you will have trouble with that too. I woke up this morning thinking, how can I make this easier and better for everyone so that it's fail safe, basically. And I thought of these templates and they worked really nice. So when I created this one, I had no problems at all. It turned out so good. That's going to be free on my website too. So to get the freebies, it's the same deal as always. Go to my website. The link is up on the screen and also below the video. Once you're on the free download page, close all the ads that pop up. You do not need to register, pay, install, anything. I do not ask for anything in return. If you click on any of the ads by mistake and they ask for your credit card details, for example, just know it is not me. Do not provide your information. If you wish to share my freebies, I would appreciate if you share the link to my website. Please do not sell or redistribute in digital form as a freebie anywhere else. And it's okay to use printed version of all my freebies in the journals that you make and sell. Now let's have some fun. I can't wait to start. This is really handy. What I've done here, I printed 2 copies and I've actually cut just a part with a number to use as template. That number tells me how many petals are in this flower. First, I'm going to show you how to do it just with a round punch, whether it's a small or a large one. Let's use one of these papers. This one here has 9 petals and that one has 10 petals. When you have even number, then you can get this effect, okay? When you have uneven number, you get this effect, like a pinwheel. I like to punch a few at the same time because it's easier and it's much quicker. So I guess I can punch 4 at the same time. You have to decide what's going to be visible there and what's going to be visible here. I want to have the blue on the inside and that on the outside. I'll just mark here. Place that there, approximately in the middle. Doesn't matter if it goes over there, as long as it's kind of symmetrical. And then I just fold over that and over that. Okay, and then I just ink the sides here. I ink that. You can use different color inks, and I also like to ink these parts too. Really don't need to ink the whole thing, just what's visible. Okay, so that's my first petal. Now I don't use this anymore. I just use the first one that I made to fold the rest of them. I find that works best and it's much easier. So I just fold. Okay, so what I do now, I just press all of them like so, and then I ink them. All right, just like I've inked the first one. So I'm going to do that and then I'll come back. All nicely inked. Before we move on, I want to show you this. If you have just 1-inch punch and the circle is smaller, like in this case, and you also want to have 8 petals, you basically do the same thing. Find the middle, mark if necessary, place that and fold. Okay, so the template works with any size punch. Even if you have a larger circle and when you fold it over these sides, it will be all right. What's over here doesn't really matter. They all start and grow equally. So that is the same petal, just shorter, but it's the same angle. That's what I'm trying to say. Now you need one for the base, and for that you can use any paper or you can use the same paper. Sometimes I use white and sometimes I use whatever is on the outside, simply because if I have any sort of gaps here, they won't be that obvious. I quickly want to check how is that going to look, and by doing that I will know where to glue on that circle. Okay. They're never really perfect, so sometimes there is a little bit of gap in between, and I can see that I will have to overlap these parts just a little bit, and that's the size of the middle circle here. So what I do, I just, you know, approximately draw a circle there, like so. And then for this part, I like to use just glue stick. First few I've used white glue, and then I would start nicely. By the time I get to the end, I can see that I have to adjust a little bit. And with white glue, I was just ripping everything apart because it was stuck immediately. But with this one, you have a little bit of time. It doesn't dry so quickly. It's a slow drying glue, so you can lift parts off and readjust. Love the color combination in this one. The small ones are so cute, but I prefer making larger ones because it's easier for me. Oh, that's a perfect fit. Okay. I'm glad it didn't give me any trouble. So what I do now, I just open these up like so. I have a few things here that were cut from cardstock and recycled packaging. I think the gold one would look good. And also this orange one. I like that the best. Just gonna ink around. And you can also add here a button if you wanted to. That's so cute. I really love this one. Now let's try making one with a square punch. I said I wanted to use one of the wrapping papers. I want to use that one. Let's make a 10 petal one. So I need to punch 10 of these. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, now we're going to make that one. I'm going to use that template. I'm going to start in the corner here, place it in the middle, and then just fold. And also fold here. I think I want the printed part on the inside actually. Okay, and I also like to ink. So I'm going to ink here top bit, and then here. And when I fold, I ink there. So now I need to do the same thing with the rest of them, and I'm going to use this as a template, the first one that I've done. I'm gonna fold them all, ink them, and then I will come back. They're all nicely folded and inked. Let's test them out. Okay, you see how here I don't think I have enough room in the middle, so what I like to do is just cut a little bit off at the bottom here. So I'm going to collect a few of them like this, line them up, and I'm just going to cut just like so. Okay, let's see what we've done. I'm liking this one, very interesting brown flower. Okay, I can see now that when I get to the gluing part, I will probably make sure they join here and have a little bit of space at the back, and then they will fit nicely. I will just use that same paper. The circle is going to be rather large, so I'm going to use that as a guide. Now that's the size of that, and when I place them they need to go a little bit more on the inside, so maybe like so, so that when I place that over it will cover the ends. Okay, leaving about 1 millimeter here in between, and I'm bringing the bottom bits together. Fits nicely. When you get to the last one, if you see it's not really fitting well, you can always unfold it and make it a little bit bigger, or or move some of these to adjust. All right, let's see. This one's so cute. If I added one more, maybe I would be able to have a flower without the gaps in between. You can also add a touch of glue here. Now that they're in place. It will just stop them from moving. Oh, that one is gorgeous, just with the square punch, and of course the round bit here. Might look good with a button, wouldn't it? It would create a bit of a bulk, so I would use a button, for example, if I'm going to put it on the present or on the card, but for the inside of the journal I'd rather have it flat. I found this one. It's a paper button. I'll just do this. It's more black. I'm gonna go with that one. I like it. I'm really happy how that one turned out. I want to show you now how to do a combination of square punch and corner rounder. This one and that one. I really want to do this one. Okay, I'll just fold this. Cut it. Now that you have the squares, whether you cut them by hand or with a punch, then you use your corner rounder and round the corners on 3 sides. Depending on whether you use 4mm, 7mm or 10mm, this part here would look a little bit different. I'm using the 10mm here to get this effect. If you were to use 4, you will get more of a pointy look. Not as pointy as that, obviously, but definitely not as rounded as that. Now here, with these ones, I find it a bit hard to fold if that is into a point like we've done here. Then later on you have to cut. It's actually easier if I just cut it ahead of time. So I might just take this one and just cut a little bit like that. I hope you can see. So you end up with that look. Okay, let's make these ones now without templates, just so that you see how I've done it originally. I would just fold like 1/3 here, and then I would fold this one so that it looks all right. Okay. And that is all right, but in the end, I don't know how many I would need, depending on how I fold it. Now I can compare. It seems to be 9, but we'll see. So I guess it's totally up to you whether you want to use the templates or just go with the flow and fold and whatever happens, and then just adjust later on. So now I'm going to use that one to fold the rest of them. I'm going to turn it that way so that I can see better. So I'm quickly going to fold and ink all of these that I cut, and then I'll be back. I think they could work as either 9 or 10. So I'm going to go for 10. And that circle there is about that big. Okay, let's start gluing. And I'm going to go with pairs like this. 5 pairs. That will give me really nice petals here. I think that's all right. A little bit more overlap in this section, but it's really not that noticeable. I really love this one. Okay. I think it would look good with the gold. Also with that, we go with the contrast. What about if we go with that same blue? I'll just try. Now that's nice. I have this flower punch. I just want to see if that would look good. It would actually, so I'm going with that. That now looks like a 5-petal flower, and that's a 5-petal, so I can place like that or like this. I'm gonna go like this. Now this is my favorite. That's what I keep doing. Each new one is my favorite. Now with this one, it is the same thing, but on one of the sides, instead of using round punch, you use that one. Let's just do that quickly. I'll start with this one. You create that first, and then you do the rounding. Okay, and you end up with that. And then you start folding. This part stays here. It would be impossible to do it now. You have to do that beforehand. Okay. If you have these corner punches, I'll just show you that example quickly. You can use any of those instead of that one. To get that effect. And then you fold. Okay, you end up with that. I've done that with this one here. You see how it looks like a lip, doesn't it? And of course with that one, there it is. So just different ways of finishing the top. If you have scalloped scissors, you can also do that with scalloped scissors. I'll start here. Something like that. And then you just fold like that. Almost like carnations. Okay. One more thing I want to show you is how to actually cut by hand in case you don't have punches. And I was thinking of, let's just use this paper. And I haven't done any with 5 petals, a little bit less than 1.5 inches. I'm going to make them 1.5 inches. 1.5, and here 1.5. Just gonna fold. Just marking here at 1.5 because I want squares. Okay, I need 5. So I'm going to collect them. So I'm going to take the template and I'm going to cut the bottom bit off like so. And then I am going to just round here, round there, and round there. Basically the same thing. You end up with something similar that you would end up with if you were to use punches. And then you just fold. There it is, something like that. Let's now fold all of them. I think I would want to see more of the gold actually. So I'm going to just turn them the other way. This should be quicker because there's only 5 of them. I am going to now ink them and then we'll glue it all together. Okay, let's just see if it's gonna work before we glue it. It should, but let's just check. Okay. The opening here is going to be really small. Let's start with that one. So I'm going to overlap here. Putting here point to point, but overlapping the bottom bit. Just a little bit. When you fold by hand, you can never do the same. And then with these things, even 1 millimeter here, 1 millimeter there, it sort of adds up. But look at that. It is done by hand and it's perfect. I think it's perfect. And now we need something for the center. Maybe red would be nice, wouldn't it? Maybe this one. Now I'm still pretending that I don't have circular punch, so I'm going to use something else to draw a circle. I'm going to use this. Okay, just a little bit of ink. That one's so cute. We haven't done the 7 or 6 or 9, but you get the idea. It's the same thing, just use different template. And I want to show you something else. This here was done with just a tag punch, this one. So you pick a color that you want to use. Let's say we want to use the same one that's here. So you just do a few, open it up, and then you just glue them around like so. And then in this case I've added a bit of glitter glue over, and I've done a bit of line work too. Okay, so you can play with that. And I think I want to add some glitter to that one. I've got this silver glitter glue. I can just go in and add a little bit, a few more dots. Looks like little crystals. I think that's really cute. Maybe I can just add around here. I mean, this is optional, just something fun. Why not? And here on that one, I have this color and I have gold, but I think I want this, and I'll just do that. Good amount, just spread it and let it dry. I've been working a little bit in this journal. Apart from that, from the 15-minute craft session, and I created this belly band here, and I think it really needs a flower. I'll remove this. I'll see better then. That one looks nice. It has that earthy look. I also like that one. That would be good too. That's a pretty one. And that small one is pretty, I must say. That will also look nice. Now, I can't decide. Oh, I wish I can hear you all. I'm just going to put this one. Put that back. I really love looking at them like this. A lot of fun and so many possibilities. And if I put one in each journal, how many journals would I have to make? Anyway, I hope this was inspirational, and I really hope you give it a go. And if you do, share it in our group, Crafting with Saacibo. Be inspired and inspire others. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.